Atlantic Ocean is not a gentle place. It never was. It swallows ships, secrets, and souls with the same cold indifference, and it keeps them. But in December of 1872, the ocean gave something back. Not an answer, not a survivor, just a question. A question so disturbing, so perfectly unsolvable, that it has haunted investigators, historians, and sailors for over 150 years. A ship sailing perfectly, undamaged, fully stocked, completely abandoned. Her name was the Mary Celeste, and she should not have been moving at all.
It was December 4th, 1872. The brigantine Dei Gratia, a cargo vessel itself sailing from New York toward Gibraltar, spotted something unusual on the horizon. At first, the helmsman thought little of it. Another ship, not unusual in the Atlantic shipping lanes. But something was wrong. The ship was zigzagging, not dramatically, not violently, just slightly off, as if no one was at the wheel, as if no one was anywhere. Captain David Morehouse of the Dei Gratia ordered a closer approach. He recognized the ship. He had dined with her captain just weeks before in New York. The Mary Celeste, captained by his old friend, Benjamin Spooner Briggs. The ship was in order. That was the first thing DeVoe noted. No catastrophic damage, no fire, no flooding beyond minor water in the hold, the kind you'd expect from rough weather. The cargo was intact. 1,700 barrels of raw commercial alcohol, untouched, sealed, secured. The crew's personal belongings still in their cabins. Clothing hanging neatly. Pipes, tobacco pouches, sewing kits. One crew member had left boots, his only pair, behind. A sailor doesn't leave his boots. Not willingly. Not ever. In the captain's cabin, something even more haunting waited. The personal effects of a woman and a child. Captain Briggs had brought his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia Matilda, on this voyage. Sarah's dresses were still folded in the wardrobe. Sophia's toys, a small cloth doll, still sat on the shelf beside the bunk. The ship's logbook was recovered. The final entry was dated November 25th, 10 days before the Mary Celeste was found. The ship had been in the waters between the Azores and the Portuguese coast. Position recorded precisely. Route normal. Nothing alarming. Not a single note of distress. And then silence. 10 days of nothing. 10 days during which an entire crew, a woman and a toddler, simply ceased to exist. There was no blood, no signs of struggle, no broken furniture, no torn rigging from a violent battle, no bullet holes, no sword marks, no evidence of fire, The galley stove was cold, but the last meal had been partially prepared. That missing lifeboat would become the single most important clue in a case with almost no clues at all. It had been carried not below deck, but on top of the main hatch. It was gone, not washed overboard by a storm, but deliberately launched. Someone had gotten into that lifeboat. All of them, it seemed, had gotten into that lifeboat. And they had left behind everything, including a 2-year-old girl's toys, a sailor's only boots, and 1,700 barrels of cargo worth a small fortune. Why? What could possibly drive an experienced sea captain, a careful, religious, sober man, to abandon a perfectly seaworthy vessel in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? What could make him take his wife and baby daughter into a small, open boat in December seas? What terror was so immediate, so absolute, that there was no time to even write a distress note in the logbook? To understand what happened, we have to go back to the beginning, back to the ship herself, and the man who commanded her. The Mary Celeste had a troubled past long before she became history's most famous ghost ship. She was built in 1861 in Nova Scotia, Canada, originally christened the Amazon. And from nearly the first moment of her existence, she seemed cursed. Her first captain died of pneumonia just days after taking command. On her maiden voyage, she struck a fishing weir and was damaged. She collided with another vessel shortly after. She ran aground twice. She passed through 3 owners in her first 8 years, each one abandoning her after misfortune. She was eventually salvaged, renamed, and sold to American owners who rechristened her the Mary Celeste. Perhaps they thought a new name would break the curse. It didn't. Benjamin Spooner Briggs was 37 years old when he took command of the Mary Celeste for her fateful final voyage. He was from a seafaring family in Massachusetts. His father had been a captain. His brothers were captains. The sea was in his blood. He was known as a disciplined, fair, deeply religious captain, one who did not drink, did not gamble, and ran a tight, respected ship. He wrote to his mother before departing New York, "Our vessel is in fine order, and I hope we shall have a pleasant voyage." He seemed genuinely optimistic. He had no idea. He assembled a crew of 7 experienced sailors, German-American and Danish seamen, all with solid records. No criminals, no troublemakers, no one with reason to commit mutiny. And he brought his family. His wife, Sarah, a well-educated woman who played the melodeon organ she'd brought aboard, and their daughter, Sophia, barely 2 years old, the joy of the ship. They departed New York Harbor on November 5th, 1872, bound for Genoa, Italy, carrying their cargo of industrial alcohol. The weather at departure was rough enough that Briggs delayed the original sailing date. He was careful. He waited for better conditions. They finally left, made good initial progress, and then nothing. The logbook goes silent. The people
Let's
go
cast off the
silent.
stern lines.
The sea
Alright,
keeps
she's
its
loose.
secret.
Mary Celeste,
When
away we go.
the Dei Gratia's crew brought the Mary Celeste into Gibraltar, the case immediately became international news. The British Vice Admiralty Court opened a full investigation. And from the very first day, one man drove the proceedings. Frederick Sully Flood, the Attorney General for Gibraltar. A sharp, suspicious, deeply skeptical man who was convinced, absolutely convinced, that something criminal had happened. Flood examined the ship obsessively. He found a sword beneath the captain's bunk with what appeared to be bloodstains. He found marks on the ship's railing that looked like they had been made by an axe. He commissioned chemical analysis of the so-called blood, and the results came back as something else entirely. Not blood. Plant-based residue. Fruit juice, perhaps. The axe marks were re-examined by a shipwright who called them routine damage from use and weather. One by one, Flood's evidence evaporated, but his suspicion never did. One of the most compelling scientific theories emerged decades later. The cargo of the Mary Celeste was industrial alcohol. Not drinking alcohol, but raw, highly volatile, commercial-grade ethanol. 1,700 barrels of it. And 9 of those barrels, when investigators later examined them, were found mysteriously empty. Had the alcohol evaporated? Had gas built up inside the hold? And if so, what would have happened when someone opened a hatch?
The theory goes like this. The wooden barrel staves, made of red oak, which is porous, allowed alcohol vapor to seep slowly into the hold over the weeks-long voyage. By the time the ship reached the mid-Atlantic, there may have been a significant buildup of highly flammable, invisible gas below decks. At some point, a spark, a heat source, or the simple act of opening a hatch may have caused a sudden, violent, but non-destructive gas explosion. A soft explosion, a concussive bloom of fire and pressure that left no burning wreckage, but was terrifying enough to convince Briggs that the entire ship was about to explode.
In a moment of absolute panic, Briggs could have ordered everyone off the ship immediately, into the lifeboat. They attached a tow line to the Mary Celeste. Evidence of this line, cut or snapped, was found aboard. Intending to follow the ship at a safe distance while the gas dissipated. But Atlantic seas in December are merciless. The tow line snapped. The Mary Celeste drifted away from them, and the lifeboat, overloaded, low in the water, in December Atlantic swells, it never made it. Other theories have refused to die. There was the waterspout theory, a sudden, violent column of rotating water that could have swept everyone overboard in seconds. There was the seaquake theory,
An underwater earthquake sending shockwaves through the hull, causing the crew to believe the ship was breaking apart. There were theories about insurance fraud, piracy by unknown vessels, mass illness from contaminated water, and collective madness.
And then there were the theories that lived in darker places. The Kraken, sea monsters, forces beyond human comprehension. In 1872, the deep ocean was as unknown as outer space. Sailors genuinely believed in creatures capable of pulling men from ships.
And the 10 people who vanished from her decks: Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, little Sophia Matilda, and the 7 crew members remain missing. Not a single body recovered. Not a single piece of clothing. Not a single plank of a lifeboat. Gone. Completely. Absolutely. Utterly gone. The Mary Celeste mystery has now endured for over 150 years. It has outlasted the investigators who tried to solve it, the governments that opened inquiries into it, and every theory that seemed, for a brief, brilliant moment, to finally explain it. And it endures because it touches something primal in all of us. The ocean is enormous. We are small. And sometimes the sea does not give back what it takes.
The breakfast table was still set when DeVoe found it. The food was there. The coffee was there. Everything was exactly as it should have been. Except the people. The people were simply gone. As if the ocean itself had reached up and taken them. Quietly. Completely. Without explanation. The mystery that broke the world's greatest investigators remains today exactly what it was on December 4th, 1872. Completely, perfectly, maddeningly unsolved.